line is that kit. That Bumblebee kit is absolutely fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? As well, it does look better in the flesh than I had anticipated it would from the first images rendered of it. I sort of thought, great idea, great cause, great.
I'm just gutted they sold out of my size before I was able to get one.
Yeah, you never know. They might do another run if they're popular enough, but I'm not sure there's the audience there to participate.
Well,
to purchase. Lee Mossop sent off after 19 minutes for. I mean,
if you thought the Liam Watts,
headbutt as soft.
Yeah, if you thought the Liam Watts headbutt earlier in the season was soft, this one takes the biscuit and scrapes it gently with a small bit of butter because come on. And I know it's contact with the head.
It can escalate things when you put your head in there, so I can understand why the referees went to the pocket there on that one. He's got no games for it, sending off totally sufficient with that kind of incident.
Yeah, and it was silly all round, wasn't it? Okay, but that's one where you think a yellow card would have been fine for that. I know it's not necessarily in the because there is contact with the head and it is a headbutt. But there's got to be a little bit of common sense applied over the top there to say that wasn't ever going to hurt anyone. No. And 10 minutes of being a silly boy, but you can come back on, really, because you don't want to change the course of the game. I mean, didn't in this case, but you don't want to change the course of the game for something like that, especially when it is early on.
In terms of the Rhinos, most of the observers that have seen the game or are at the game or are involved as fans of the Leeds club and stuff seem to be telling me that this was the worst performance of the season, and
that's beating.
A very big low. I mean, a couple of players stood up that we'll pick out in the stats review in a minute. Jordan Thompson made his debut. He's picked up a 2-game ban. Probably wouldn't have been playing in the cup game anyway due to eligibility. I would guess he played for Lee in their cup one. Nathaniel Petteru,
I'm 90% sure he did because I think he got in the fight at Featherstone.
Right, okay. The Leicester spotted Nathaniel Petteru came into the side of the bench.
Ooh.
They did rest some people. No Ryan Hall, no Richie Myler, no young fullback. Forget his name now off the top of my head, but Jack Walker. So.
The one question I did
no Adam Cuthbertson either. So there is players there that I assume they were patching up and getting prepared for the semi-final, given that this was essentially a dead rubber. So
I did think Brad Dwyer's defence looked a bit questionable as well. There was a couple of the tries where he just was brushed off a little bit too easily for someone playing in that position.
I think Brad Dwyer's strengths are enthusiasm and infectiousness. I think his weaknesses have always kind of been in the physical side of things in defence and in the organising side of things in attack. So, this is one of my bugbears, and we'll get onto it in the Wigan game a little bit. But there's players out there that show so much promise, so much talent, and yet I get repeatedly frustrated with watching them not work on the weaknesses that I've seen for 3 and 4 years in their game.
Yeah, well, you think when you're a professional, what are you doing the rest of the time?
Don't fucking go home and watch reruns of Love Island in the afternoon or whatever.
Go and watch 90 minutes of it, 8 minutes of a Cameron Smith game. Or watch a video of a Cameron Smith game and watch him.
Yeah.
Sit there watching him and going, right, what's he doing?
And
what's he doing at this point?
A lot of players who want
Where's he working in defence?
Yeah, than do those sort of things. And I just think if they put the hours in that I put the hours in at my job, for much greater reward, I would say they get than me. If not always financially, then in other ways.
Well, you think in a business, you have a development plan, don't you? You know what areas you need to work on. Like, it might be increase your product knowledge on a certain product. So you go and do something about it, and you measure it over a time. Why are they not? Do they not have the same mentality? You'd think they would, but there are.
I'm sure they must get the time. I don't think in our kind of realms of the real world work, we don't necessarily get the time to work on our development because you're so busy meeting your targets,
keeping things out the door.
That you struggle to get on top of your development. Whereas these guys surely have got that chance. But yeah, there's things to work on for Leeds, but I do think they've got a lot of players coming back next week for Salford. It shows promise. It shows hope. The fans seem way more optimistic than they've been all season long, and Jackson Hastings has played a big part in that. So there you go. Stats. The stats actually show Leeds made 182 more metres at a big 1.6 metres per carry better average gain. However, they hurt themselves in other ways, conceding 8 penalties to 5 and making 13 errors to 8. Leeds couldn't take advantage of the extra man, and Salford, despite less ball and fewer men on the pitch, were still able to create 9 breaks to Leeds' 5. So there's a suggestion of defensive unity from Salford there and attacking flair, so there's hope in the qualifiers. And also on Friday night we saw Huddersfield take on Wakefield in a high-scoring one over at the John Smith's Little Mix compromised stadium. It was 40 points to 28, although it was 30 points to 10, so it was probably done and dusted by Huddersfield in the earlier stages there. And I think actually Wakefield scored the last 1, 2, 3 tries in the game. So at one point it was 40 points to 10 after 52 minutes, and it was done, wasn't it, at that stage? 5,697, which I think is a positive crowd for these two sides, especially when really all they were playing for was positions at the end of the day, rather than real progress up the table. Robert Hicks was the referee. We had quite a few views in on this one as well, which is a good news.
Yeah, so we start with Mark W., who said, a fantastic first half in which a ruthless Giant side ran a decent Wakey side around the park, and a poor second half as Trin tried to injure as many opponents as possible to engineer a comeback. Well, maybe they should sign Chris Hill. Luckily, one man on the bench turned out to be enough. Much like a young Mark Wilkinson on the search for love, the Giants ended up in 5th. Bring on the 8s.
That's because he met his future wife in 5th Avenue, the indie nightclub in Manchester. So there you go. Wonderful stuff. See, it's all coming together now, Mark. I remember the story now. He's off to Barcelona, and he's got a sneak that the Catalan, Huddersfield away at Catalans might land on that weekend, and he might have to work in a trip up the coast. We shall see. We shall see. But great.
Well,
stuff.
it's only 5 minutes on the bus. Is that right?
Hour or 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that in the 8s we won't get a Toulouse Catalan derby, really, isn't it?
Rob, tell us more about yourself, Rob. What's your Twitter handle? Who are you? What's more about you? I'm guessing you're a Giants fan, but let's hear more about you, Rob, because you just say Wolford for coach of the season. It's a legitimate question. He's in the
mix. He's in the mix, isn't he?
He's taken the side who were 12th in the table after 13
and
rounds
let's be honest, look well sunk in there. Yeah,
who were getting beaten heavily. Okay, having to plug in some youngsters, but getting beaten heavily. No one really playing to the truest potential. They did have some injuries to mitigate that, of course, but no one really playing to the truest potential. Some of the leaders not showing adequate leadership skills, and it's taken them from 12th place after 13 rounds to 5th place after 23 rounds. It's a remarkable turnaround, and you can clearly see the linearity in it as well of him coming into the club and the club turning a corner. So he's got to be in the conversation. What did Brian Davies have to say?
Yeah, Brian Davies said
more on Wolford.
Only just to agree, and the way he's fitted in with the club and the coaching, the other coaching staff in there as well. They sort of got on board with. I think he's done a fantastic job, and I think he'd definitely be in that coach of the year conversation. Anyway, Brian Davies said a must win for either side if they want to make the top 4. Wakey started off poorly with 2 lame chip kicks early to end sets of 6 caught easily by the Giants. The game showed a massive difference in class between Jerry and Tom on the wing, and TJ got a real schooling. Surely it should have been between Tom and Jerry. There was a purple patch in the mid-second half when Trinner proved their passing and discipline, but the Giants were far the better side. Don't rule them out.
Wakey White, it's a bit of a strange game, this one. Wakey looked far more dangerous until the mild-mannered Ashurst got sent to the sin bin after 15 minutes. Wakey then capitulated for the rest of the half to a Huddersfield side who were creating overlaps at will. Wakey came back into it in the end to close the gap, but too little, too late. Yeah, the sin bin apparently was for dissent. In the sin bin period, Huddersfield did take advantage with 2 tries. It was 6-all up to that point. The hands for Jerry's second try. I don't know if you've seen the highlights, but the hands for Jerry's second try, and Cudjow's touch was like so delicate. It was like he was, I don't know, creating intricate pastries or something like that.
It was like a volleyball set in the precision of it and the limited touch to get that much out of it.
I think the touch before was maybe even more like a volleyball set, because there was a little bit of action in that one, whereas Cudjow's, I don't know, it was just so seamless and graceful.
The best setter moves their hands the least.
Okay.
So the best setter, it's all about the positioning prior, and then there's barely any movement on the hands. The Top Gun style, where you see them sort of receive it and then ping it out again.
Yeah.
That gets called as a double touch, because that's not quite. But the top setters, so if you watch the Japanese players, especially Japanese women setter, whose name I can't remember at the top, but I can picture her face. You watch their hands, and that they will move, and it's just like a sort of a micro alignment of just dabbing the ball very, very slightly, but they get full effect of it because it's entirely precision movement, and that's what that was to me.
Yeah, it was beautiful stuff to see. I mean, Cudjoe was picked out as the man of the match, I think, from most observers, and well done to him. He's making a difference now. He's back in the side in his testimonial year, and obviously he is supposed to be the club captain, isn't he, this year? But I think he's not taking necessarily captaincy duties in the games. But him and Jerry, the Cudgilveray combination, really getting it going. 4 injuries in the second half for Huddersfield. I think the only one of those that's going to be real serious, though, looks like Michael Lawrence's injury, which we kind of had a little bit of a laugh about earlier. But yeah, okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to pick out on this one? Obviously, it was high scoring. There was lots of points scored. Any other tries stand out for you?
No, it was just the McGilvery, the second one particularly. But I think his all-round involvement with what I saw on the highlights was exactly what you'd expect. It was classic Jerry.
The stats on this game make slightly strange reading. Wakey just edged the meters and had a really big 6.2% better team tackle success. There was also a high 11-all penalty count. The Giants, though, respected the ball better with only 6 errors to 11 and made 7 breaks to 5 to score 7 tries to 5, so converted their chances at will. Jeremy Gilvery, 3 tries, 8 tackle busts, 155 metres and 4 clean breaks. Paul Clough, 150 metres. Jordan Turner, 1 try and 119 metres. Akumatai, 1 try and 105 metres. For the losing Wakefield side, some familiar names. Reece Lynn, a try assist, 7 tackles, 147 metres. Tom Johnston, even though he was largely schooled by the excellent England international Jeremy Gilvery, took something from this game, 1 try and 111 metres. James Batchelor, credit to this kid, 45 tackles, no missed tackles. And Paulie, 1 try, 8 tackles, 104 metres. Okay, the big one on Friday, the televised game, the game that meant the most, even though it kind of meant the least at the same time. People were queuing outside. The kickoff had to be delayed.
In fantastic conditions, wasn't it?
Wanted to be a part of it to get the spectacle really going on. 17,500, 17,564, big crowd in the KCOM. Gareth Hewer was the referee. It ended Hull FC 16, Hull KR 20. Hull KR had built up a commanding 16-0 lead at half-time. I'm sure we're going to hear you talk with glee about how that came about after we've listened to the fan views, starting with Carsten.
Yep, Carsten, Swiss_Cowboy himself, said, "What an atmosphere in this weather, even with the bubbler there. KR with a fantastic first half, in my opinion, and try of the year from Craig Hall." And then he kicks that penalty too. The second half was mostly FC, but dynamic of the game changed through the overreaction of Blair. The decision maybe brackets was wrong, but a sin bin doesn't help your team. #idiot, #calm down, #respect.
Yeah, and he got a penalty notice for that.
Grade.
He got a grade A penalty notice for questioning a decision.
Yeah.
No matches for that. But then he got a grade D that's been referred to the tribunal for other contrary behaviour, which I think probably came around the same thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
It was for the gesture, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was out of line.
It was stupid to start with,
Yeah.
and then he compounded it by just going